that kind of a thing.
Okay.
The questions that you have.
Great, thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, we're going to hold you off. I think we need to get to Jason Johnson.
Okay,
That's
I'll
all
go
right.
downstairs. for one.
Okay. And the same is true for Steve.
Yeah, he ran out for a few minutes, so.
Yeah, we can get to him. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. All right, Jason.
This morning, we have 48 in-house, 2 weekenders, 8 transfers, 2 out on electronic monitoring, 20 on the pretrial release program for a total population of 80. Took in 35 inmates last week, 8 were repeaters, 34 were released. Repeater charges, 1 came in for disorderly conduct and protective custody, booked 3 times in 4 years. 1 for disobeying a police officer, booked 2 times this year. 1 for an arrest warrant, booked 2 times in 2 years. 1 for a violation of protective order, booked 2 times this year. 1 for DWI, endangering the welfare of a child in protective custody, booked 2 times this year. 1 for an arrest warrant, booked 3 times in 2 years. 1 for simple assault, criminal mischief and obstructing the report of a crime, booked 10 times in 11 years. And 1 for protective custody, booked 5 times in 11 years. Had to send an inmate out to the hospital on Monday night, and he was treated and released back to the facility. Had a vendor come in last week to look at the secure control systems for a maintenance contract. They're going to get back to me in a week or so for a price. The other company does not use the same system that we use, and they could not provide a maintenance contract for us. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Braga and Dr. Schweiger. These are the 2 gentlemen that I'd like to have them come in and look at taking over a medical area for provide medical direction and patient services.
Okay. They've been to the facility?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Welcome.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Point of order, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. Would these folks be doing the same thing that the company you discussed here a month ago was looking at, or is this something different?
It would be somewhat similar, but a lot different.
They'd be issuing the meds?
They would be providing doctor services. We would still oversee the nursing staff, but they would provide medical services to the inmates in the facility.
Thank you.
Which is done by now?
Right now, we have a ARMP.
Okay. Damon?
Would this be kind of like privatizing it, or would they become county employees?
No, it's a contracted service.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd be a vendor.
Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. I can speak to some of those questions and give a little bit of clarification for all. My name is Chris Braga. I'm a physician. This is Chris Schweiger. He's a physician assistant. We both work for Dr. Hitchcock Clinic in Manchester. I've been practicing medicine for a total of 13 years now. I'm a family practitioner by trade, and Chris has been a family practitioner, physician assistant for many years. Both of us have been in the correctional field or providing care in the correctional facilities for approximately 5 to 6 years. Chris a little longer, actually. We've provided services at Rockingham County, and we've also been at Hillsborough County as well. We initially got our start through Prime Care, which is the company I think that was alluded to, and kind of figured out the process and the tweaks on how correctional medicine is a bit different than the medicine that's practiced in the community. So we come to you with quite a bit of experience. We understand financial constraints that the county is faced with. We have expertise in managing things and know where to save $1 or $2. Initially, when we got started, we had the same type of philosophy that Prime Care had, in that we were vendors trying to come in and kind of really trying to take over an entire medical department. And being in business for the first time, you kind of learn very quickly that sometimes that's not what the customer wants. I think if, when a corporation, so big corporations, Prime Care, and there are others, national organizations come in, I think from county correctional facility standpoint, you do lose a little bit of control because it takes time to get a vendor out if you're not happy with services. So we went back to the drawing board and we kind of provide services kind of a la carte. We'll do whatever it is that needs to be done and we'll accommodate based on the needs of the facility. So with discussion with Superintendent Johnson, yes, our goal is our mission is to start out with smaller counties such as Carroll County, get involved, and eventually one day provide correctional health care to all the counties in New Hampshire at some point. That's our mission as a corporation. We had a very frank discussion as to what the services were needed, and we're willing to accommodate that. We would be providing not only provider services, we have a system on how it's run, but Chris would come in once a week and provide acute care for any acute issue that comes up with inmates, and typically I would run the chronic care. I would deal with more of your your diabetics, your hypertensive, some of the chronic things that need a closer look at. That's actually more frequent than I see my chronic care in the outpatient sector. Oftentimes I'm seeing certain chronic conditions every 3 months, every 6 months, so I'll be coming in on a monthly basis. Chris would be coming in on a weekly basis. We're going to try to provide 24/7 coverage, not boots on the ground, but by phone for sure.
When you say you're going to try,
No, we
what's
will.
that mean?
We
No, no,
will.
no. We will provide 24/7 coverage via phone. That's the bottom line. We bring a lot to the table as far as value. We're very big on trying to, our goal, and we hope that it would be the goal of the county, would be to get the county up to snuff with national standards. There are big national organizations that have very specific standards that should be followed. They're invaluable. They reduce your risk and liability when you're dealing with legal issues. If there's lawsuits, if standards are being followed, you've got a leg to stand on. And that's a value that you can't measure directly. It's an indirect value, but we try to keep people or the county out of the courtroom, and if so, really provide a solid case so that decisions go in the favor of the county by providing quality care. We have a lot of managerial skills. We've been creating protocols and implementing some of this stuff in our experiences at not only Hillsborough with Superintendent O'Mara, but also over at Rockingham as well.
those are the two counties that you're presently serving?
Well, we were at Rockingham as employees of Prime Care, and then we broke off and developed our own corporation, and we were with Jim for a period of about a year. Ultimately, we didn't get the contract there because we were looking for the whole enchilada, and that's not what Jim wanted. That's the learn. He wanted the a la carte picture where he wanted us in as providers, and not so much coming in to take over the whole. But we still maintain a very good relationship with Jim. There are times where he's called us up and asked a little bit of advice from a medical standpoint. We were able to provide him very quickly some of the holes he didn't have. For example, we brought in a dentist, we brought in a psychiatrist who would come in weekly. That was a service he never had. We created relationships with the Manchester. The big problem in the prison system is a lot of your inmates have got mental health issues, and if those mental health issues were controlled, they probably wouldn't wind up in your facility. So we reached out to the Manchester Mental Health Center and was able to develop a relationship between Manchester Mental Health and the Hillsborough County Correctional Facility, so that there's a seamless transition so that they can continue to get care and not wind up off their meds, committing another crime and winding up in a correctional institution again. So those are some of the things that we provide. From a cost perspective, I can 99% guarantee you that your pharmacy cost will be dramatically reduced overnight, period. And the reason I say that is because when we were at Rockingham and we were there for 4 to 5 years, the jail is 6 times the size, and we spent maybe $3,500 to $4,000 a month in pharmaceutical costs. You're currently spending about $8,500 a month in pharmaceutical costs that are for a jail that's a sixth the size. There's ways to do it. You don't need to prescribe designer medications. There's other medications that are just as good and a tenth the cost. You just need to follow a formulary. That's where our expertise comes in. We know the drugs to prescribe. We know how to negotiate with pharmaceuticals. That's probably one of your biggest expenses. We definitely can provide value with services that are provided in-house. We do a lot more than typical providers. We're willing to come in, suture, things that are at this point going out to the community where they can be pretty costly through an ER or a consultation. Lots of times we take care of that right in-house. There's no overtime pay for correctional officers. There's intangibles that are difficult to measure. There's no ambulance costs, there's no hospital costs, there's no consultant fee. A lot of that, I mean, some stuff has to go out, but we minimize that and actively manage that to the best of our ability. So truly, I believe, if you look at the amount that we've requested it through negotiations with Superintendent Johnson, we were looking at about $50,000 a year, and that's quite a bit of value. You're getting 2 providers as opposed to 1, which is the current situation. You're getting 24/7 coverage. It's really an increased cost of $30,000 on your part because the cost for the ARMP right now is about $20,000. But I can almost guarantee you we're going to save you $30,000. It's truly a win-win situation where the bottom line for the facility from a financial perspective should come down, and at the same time we're making enough of a profit for it to be valuable for our time.
And then I'll point out that you'll have 24-hour medical care that's provided, not having inmates going out to see their family practitioner in the community. You'll have a stabilization of your medical care. It'll be consistent, uniform, and that's really something that's not going on at this point.
Where are you located? Where are your headquarters?
Well, we both work out of Manchester.
Manchester.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live in Bosquen, actually.
Bosquen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll work with, there's other ways to address pharmaceutical costs, which tends to be, the reason I keep bringing up the pharmaceutical stuff is because that tends to be one of the bigger line items. But we work with the pharmacy board, try to come up with some innovative, creative ways and to kind of either get drugs for free directly through pharmaceutical corporations or at a reduced discount with some of the vendors that are in the community, even if they're an out-of-state vendor, and negotiate. Even with labs, all of it, the whole 9 yards, we're willing to provide that managerial service and kind of aid Superintendent Johnson here, and it's, at the same time continue to provide the actual medical care. So kind of 2 hats, helping with managerial stuff as well as the provider care.
When you say that you're providing 24/7 service, if in the middle of the night, an inmate shows some sort of condition, you're just going to call, somebody's going to call you, you're just going to advise over the phone, you're not actually going to come in.
Correct.
But that your advice may, at some point the advice may not be adequate, and then the prisoner still has to go to...
No, I'd have to disagree with that. If you look at a correctional medicine facility is no different than a clinic in the community. When I'm, in the community, I go home, I wear a pager. If I'm on call for that week, I get a phone call. Nurse gives me the situation, and it's called triage. We make a decision as to what needs to happen with that patient. It may be something where it can wait. We'll see you the next day. We'll put you on the line for the end of the week when Chris comes in or I come in. Or it may be something that needs further evaluation, and we'll make the decision that the inmate will need to go out to the local ER and be seen. But you know, the situation now is there's no coverage at night.
I'm going to point that out.
Yeah, and so you've got a correctional officer, and if